Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon FireRed. In the last part we took the long trek over here to Lavender Town, getting through Rock Tunnel in the process, and I hate that dungeon. And now let's take a look around this place, and its overly depressing theme that there's totally not a rumor about people giving kids seizures in the original Red and Green release in Japan. Did we ever get confirmation on that being false or not? I believe we did, but I never believed it that much anyway. If anything, the creepypastas are the funnier part of it, and even then, that's because creepypastas are generally just kind of garbage. Now, one thing I want to do right off the bat is deposit Mr. Mime into my box, because I never need to use Flash again from memory. Unless I'm forgetting a very notable instance, in which case I'm just dumb. And I want to get the Farfetch'd back into my party because there's a couple more trees I'm going to want to cut down in the near future. Now, why this town is so depressing beyond its music just being overall very downer is this is the grave site for Pokemon. The Pokemon Tower in the top right of the town is a giant graveyard. But apparently there is someone named Mr. Fuji who's supposed to live here who I guess is notable, but he's not here right now, so I guess I'll have to come back later. Now, there are two ways you could go about this area of the game. You could either go do what I'm about to do now, or wait until after the next gym and dungeon to do it. I prefer to do it now, though, because the level curve just makes more sense to me. Though I say that, but at the same time, the next chunk of the game is a bit weird with level curve, because this is one of the few Pokemon games where you have a choice of what gyms you want to do in what order for particularly the 5th and 6th gym. And because of that, the level curve kind of equalizes here for a little bit, and the difficulty that means the difficulty might be a bit hard at first, but then it just kind of turns down for quite a bit. And being a graveyard, I'd like you to take a guess at what kind of Pokemon we're going to eventually run into here. But first, look who it is! Hey Kyle, what brings you here? Is your Pokemon dead? Hey, it's alive. I can at least make him faint. Let's go. There's a giant, stupid fan theory about the reason Blue being here is that we killed his Raticate because we never see that thing again. I don't buy it. Either way, Blue has not changed much since the last time we saw him. The Pidgeotto, I believe, has only gotten level ups. I don't think he actually got any new ability changes. Yeah, it looks like the move layout's the exact same. The big changes with his team comes in with the ladder members. Although I should note, an interesting thing about his team is that what Pokemon he gets does largely depend on what you chose as your starter. Namely in regards to his second slots, if I'm recalling correctly. And I believe this is the first fight where you get to see that actually happen. Let's see, does he use it next? No, he doesn't. He instead throws out his starter. Wartortle has seen a bit of a change this time around. It now has Bite instead of one of its other attacks, along with Tail Whip, Bubble, and Water Gun. I still don't recommend throwing out a Fire type, but hey, I got Thunderbolt. That's all I need. Gonna use a quick potion on my Pikachu, though, because he's looking a little bit low on HP there, and I don't like that. Generally speaking, you don't see me use many items in battle just because, again, that's my playstyle. And it's also a bit of a Final Fantasy peeking through, particularly 7, because that was the most recent RPG I had at least looked at the time of recording this, because for those, when this is getting uploaded far in the future, by far in the future I mean maybe May, April, actually maybe June. At the time of this recording, the Final Fantasy 7 finale goes out tomorrow, so 7's bigly on my brain. Either way, back on topic. This fight against Blue is the first one where things tend to drag out a little bit just because his stats do get pretty good. Oh no, actually I don't have Thunderbolt yet. I only had Thundershock. Now I get Thunderbolt. It's just an outright upgrade. The game doesn't do that too much, where whenever you get a new version of a move, or a new type move that's the same type as your Pokemon, where it's just a straight up power upgrade. It is actually one of the main factors why I chose the team members I did throughout the game. Was while, yeah, my stats get better as I grow, so do just my moves, because I get more or less just plain upgrades. Now, the Growlithe is one of the Pokemon that largely depends on what team what starter you chose. By the way, this particular one has Intimidate, which means that your attack stat gets lowered when it gets thrown out. Bite, Roar, Leer, and Ember. Roar, if I recall correctly, am I thinking of the right ability when it comes to that? Because there's two abilities I always get confused. Yes. Roar will randomly switch your Pokemon with one of your other teammates, and that can suck in the right instance, depending on what gets thrown out. Now it's time for his Execute, which is an entirely new Pokemon. This one in particular has the Chlorophyll ability, which I believe means that if it's sunny weather conditions, it heals its HP. Barrage, Hypnosis, Confusion, Leaps, and Leech Seed. Hypnosis is probably the most annoying. No, Harsh Sunlight speed stats doubled. Okay, that's what it is. Execute, otherwise Grass Psychic, so weak to Flying, Poison Bug, Ghost, Fire, Ice, and Dark. It's got an okay defense stat, and its evolution's okay, but there are better grass types in Gen 1, and by that I mean the Bulbasaur line. Grass didn't get much love in Gen 1. And the Kadabra is the usual. Teleport. I think this one still has Teleport for some reason, which I find odd. But then I think about it, and I don't think Kadabra learns Recover until a few levels later, so it makes sense why it would still have Teleport. Also, I swear to God, that's like only the third time I've ever seen that move get used in any Pokemon game ever. I don't know why. I know it's still a thing in later games. It's just, I don't think anyone ever uses it. Mind you, it's also a move exclusive to Kadabra and its evolution Alakazam, so that might just be the thing. I seldom see people use Kadabra or Alakazam. It's kind of like when you watch one of your favorite movies and you notice something new every time. There's some games I still see new stuff in every time I play them. What? You stinker! I took it easy on you too! Skip through that dialogue a bit quickly there. Impatient, Kyle? How's your Pokedex coming? I just caught a Cubone! I can't find the bigger Marowak. Where could they be? I bet there aren't any left. Well, I better get going. I've got a lot to accomplish. Unlike you. Smell you later. I think that fight's not optional. There are a couple of fights against Blue that are technically optional, like the one back on Route 22 or whatever, west of Viridian Cities and such. Now, being the Pokemon Graveyard, take a guess at what the Pokemon trainers here all use. If you guessed the Ghost type, you'd be correct. In fact, basically every channeler you fight here has a Ghastly. Ghost Poison type, which means it is weak to Ghost, Psychic, and Dark. Extraordinarily high special attack stat, and a pretty decent speed stat from my memory. I love using this thing in its evolution. In fact, I strongly considered using one for this playthrough because I just really like it. You can't get the second evolution unless you trade it, which sucks for me. Being on emulator here, I'd have to play around with VBA Link, which actually, you know what? I might do that. Because that would allow me to get an Alakazam, and you know what? That's worth it. You know what? Time to play around with VBA Link. Fun! Well, it's actually not too annoying. Now, the interesting thing about coming to this dungeon at this point in the game is that you actually can't encounter any wild Pokemon in here. Everything you find is actually a ghost, which you cannot do anything against, and doesn't do anything against you. You can only run from them. When we eventually are able to find Pokemon in here, you can find the Ghastlies, the Channelers have, not Chancellor, Star Wars joke here. You can find their evolution, and you can even find Cubones. There are basically no bad Pokemon in here. Kinda sucks that I can't get experience points, but oh well. Also, most of the channelers on the lower floors are largely optional. And every single one of them has between 1 to 3 Ghastlies, with one exception we'll see later on, which I believe has just one Haunter. We'll talk more about that when the time comes. I love the musical track here, by the way. FireRed Leaf Green soundtrack, as I believe I mentioned overall, is still really good. Some of the sound font choices don't work too well, like the battle theme, but overall, Gen 1's music is still really strong. Not the best soundtrack in Pokemon. To me, that goes to either Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Gen 5 in general. Even though I love Gen 7, its soundtrack wasn't the best, but Sword and Shield's soundtrack is excellent. And there we get the Cleanse tag. That's an item I've gotten some good use out of prior. Also, this little square here heals you. Now, the Cleanse tag, I want to say it's the first held item we've gotten that's like of notable note. It lowers the wild encounter rate if held by the Pokemon in the first slot of your team. The best way I can describe it otherwise is that it's a minor repel. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this yet, but I actually am not using repels throughout this entire LP because I like getting experience points. Just that's it. I like experience points. Either way, this particular channeler has the next new Pokemon, Hunter, the evolution of Ghastly, starting at level 25. Still Ghost Poison type, so it's still weak to Ghost, Psychic, and Dark. Its special attack stat and speed stat are even higher. I love this thing. It's got such a goofy smile. Yeah, it might lick you a little bit, but hey, look at him. He's shaped like a friend. There's a reason I used one back in my Crystal LP 6 years ago now. I love this thing. Don't be surprised in a future Pokemon LP if it makes another appearance. Honestly. I love him. This is the last floor of the Pokemon Tower we're going to be able to explore for now. We actually can't do everything here until at least another gym forward. Gym in a side area. Well, not side area. It's required for storyline, but it comes off as a side area given the main plot. Ooh, rare candy. I'm basically stockpiling those for the Pokemon that need a lot of experience points, by the way. Be gone, intruders! We are forced to fight a ghost here who is much higher level. We can't do anything against these things, so we just have to run. And we're forced to walk backwards. We cannot go upstairs until we have a specific key item from later in the game, so for now, let's just cut out and head west of Lavender Town onto Route 8. Route 8, Pokemon-wise, there's only a little bit of grass you can encounter Pokemon on. You need cut in order to access all that grass. But there are some okay Pokemon here. Pidgey, Meow. If you're playing FireRed, you can find Ekans or Growlithes. And if you're playing Sandshrew, you can find... if you're playing Leaf Green, you can find Sandshrew or Vulpix. Leaf Green got the better secondary Pokemon there, but the Fire type, FireRed got the better one because Growlithe's evolution is a lot better than Vulpix's, as I believe I mentioned before. Now, I'm not exactly certain why, but this is a route I always think about when I think of Gen 1, and it's for one notable purpose that we're going to see in a few moments, because there's just a very stupid layout of trainers here, where it makes me feel like they programmed in all the trainers and then placed them on the map, and then they realized they had like 3 left over that they didn't know where to put, but they were at the appropriate level curve for this point in the game. Because, well, you'll see in about 2 minutes, maybe. For now, though, this super nerd has a new Pokemon for us to fight. This is Muck. This is Grimer's evolution. Joke about reading the name backwards here. It's done to death, guys. It's not funny anymore. This is a pure poison type like the original Muck, which means it's weak to ground and psychic. It's a very tanky Pokemon. High HP, high attack, high special defense. The solo poison typing isn't my favorite, but it can be useful. I forget what its moveset is like in the Gen 3 portion, though. I'm more familiar with it from Gen 7 onwards, where it gained a dark subtype in the Alolan form. But for now, it's time for something completely different. Added for Gen 3 in FireRed and as in the normal Gen 3 is double battles. Starting from this generation onwards, we're able to have 2 Pokemon fight another 2, and you can target whichever Pokemon you want, whatever move you want, and from there it just plays out like a normal Pokemon battle, just with more Pokemon. There are moves specifically programmed to do different things in double battles, and also those exclusively for double battles, like Helping Hand, Follow Me, I believe is another one. They're okay. I think in early double battle stuff, in Gen 3 and 4 in particular, they played out a bit too slowly for their own good at times. But it's a good enough addition mechanic. I like it. I like it more than triple battles in, I think it was White version that had those, or did they have rotation battles? I forget which Gen 5 game had which. Although Jigglypuff uses a fairly devastating move here, Rollout, it didn't do too much there, but when you use that once, you're locked into using it for 5 turns in a row, and it gets exponentially powerful. More powerful with each use. It is ridiculous, and it's also why people hate a certain cow in Gen 2. Why are there 4 trainers just placed like that, by the way? I don't get it. I just don't get it. This last here, though, has a new Pokemon, though. This is Nidorina. This is the evolution of Nidoran female, the counterpart to Nidorino. Solo poison type, so it's weak to ground and psychic. Its stats are fairly balanced. I think its HP and defense are higher, but like with Nidorino, it doesn't gain much of a specialization until its second evolution into Nidoqueen, which needs a Moonstone, I believe? It's alright. Most of these bikers, by the way, have poison types. You're fighting a lot of poison types on this road, really. Time for another new Pokemon, though. Gamer Stan here, which is a sentence which means a completely different thing in 2020 than it did in 2004, by the way, has the Poliwag evolution Poliwhirl. Straight up water type, which means it is weak to grass and electric. It's got a high speed stat, and its evolution continues that. It's not a bad water type. You can't get it for a little bit still. You can't get a Poliwag for a little bit more still. But it's a decent one. My favorite water type's not for... no, we're getting it fairly soon. Now, if you head west from here, you'll find another cop who's blocking your way because he's thirsty. So I'm just going to ignore that and head down the underground path and head west. Like the underground path back in Cerulean, this does have a bunch of hidden items in there that I don't think are spawned yet. And according to a list I have here on the side, there is an Ice Heal, an Antidote, an Ether, a Burn Heal, an Awakening, a Paralyzed Cure, and a Standard Potion. I don't care to get any of them. If you want to waste your time just checking every spot to hopefully find items that you can buy for cheap at most Pokemarts at this point in the game, go right ahead. I'm usually more anal retentive about grabbing those kind of things, but keep out of Team Rocket's way. Okay. Welcome to Celadon City. I believe this is the largest city in the original Gen 1. Oh, what am I to do? Someone stole our self-scope. The thief came running this way, I'm sure of it, but I lost sight of him. Where'd he go? I don't know. Maybe we'll find him later. Celadon is one of my favorite cities in the game just because I like this kind of relaxed big city approach. It's kind of like the city I'm right next to, actually. And there's also a lot to do here. Chief, we just shipped 2,000 more Pokemon and slot prizes. Oh, what the hell, Team Rocket? Yeah, that's one thing that's a bit weird about Team Rocket compared to the teams from later games. They're just straight up mafia, basically. Whereas Gen 3, they're eco-terrorists. Gen 4, they're just terrorists. Gen 5, eco-terrorists again. Gen 6, just I'm noticing a trend here. Gen 7, Team Skull is the best. They are the absolute best, god damn it. Team Yell was funny too. Not the same kind of funny as Team Skull though. Oh, and also there's just a straight up hotel here for some reason. It has no purpose beyond just being a hotel. You know what? I like that. There are a couple of notable things about Celadon though. Beyond the Pokemon Gym, there is the building to our right, which is the Game Corner, which is essentially just a casino. There's this giant place, which we'll be going into in a few moments. But for now, I want to head into this apartment complex here to my right. Because remember, that guy there just noticed that some lady's giving out free tea in here, and that sounds delicious. I will take 60 cups. You shouldn't spend all your money on drinks. Try this instead. And we get the tea. That is a key item for a reason, because it allows us to enter the city at the center of Kanto. More on that later. For now, let's just head upstairs. I have a good feeling about this building. Because it has the first of many Game Freak Development Room offices. They just have basically little staff representations talking about the game. If you talk to this guy when you complete your Pokedex, I believe he gives you the certificate? I think. I've actually never completed Gen 3's Pokedex. My big Gen to complete the Pokedex in was Heart Gold Soul Silver. And then again in sort of with the Hoenn Dex and Oras. And then again recently with Sword and Shield. And I'll do it again when the DLC comes out. You may have noticed though on the roof of that apartment complex there was another building, and to get to that we need to head around the back and go up the back door. The building up here had its purpose changed for the remake though. It was just, I believe, some dude's house in the original game. Whereas now it is a little tutorial section about the wireless adapter, which was the accessory that came with this game. It was essentially the link cable, but you didn't need a link cable. Think of it as early Wi-Fi. Or, well, early local wireless on your consoles or handhelds. It was cool, but it's very archaic. The more important thing, though, is that Pokeball there on the stand, because this is Eevee, one of my favorite Pokemon ever. It's normal type, meaning it's only weak to fighting, but it has a little bit of a special thing to it, which is why I'm naming it after my brother, Chris. I'll talk more about that special thing in a little bit. For right now, stat-wise, it's completely balanced, I think. I think, like, its special defense is a little higher than its special attack, but otherwise it's, like, almost all the same across the board. It doesn't get into specialties until what you do with it, because Eevee is a Pokemon all about evolution. I know they're all about evolution, but more so than usual. For now, let's talk about this. This is the department store. This is an all-in-one Pokemon mart that has TMs, calcium items, or whatever they are for raising base stats in EVs, and a lot of other things that are fairly... It's just a larger Pokemon mart, essentially. There's even a game store floor that's basically nothing but a game store, though I do want to buy the Hyper Beam TM because it's an extraordinarily powerful normal type move that I'm going to want to have on one of my endgame team Pokemon. Just a little bit of forward thinking there. Pokeballs, by the way, I'm not buying a lot of at this point in the game because I'm not catching much, and the next two Pokemon are going to take a special kind of Pokeball anyway. And I want to wait until Ultra Balls become available anyway because they're just more worth my money. This guy teaches you counter. It's a counter attack. If you get hit after you use it, you counter back with more power. It's okay. I don't like it because I like to do damage directly, thank you. This guy here is the important one. He sells the Thunder, Water, Leaf, and Fire Stones. Like the Moon Stones from Mount Moon, these are evolution stones that can evolve Pokemon when used on them. The Thunder, Water, and Fire ones are notable because they're all usable on Eevee. Eevee's entire gimmick is that it has more evolutions than any other Pokemon in the series, depending on what element you want. I, in particular, want the Water type, Vaporeon. Only weak to Grass and Electric, this thing is an absolute tank. Extraordinarily high HP and very high special attack. I love this Pokemon. It might just be my favorite Pokemon, period. And it's going to be my Water type going forward. If you paid attention earlier, you may notice I even stored Aqua away because she's not going to be getting much more use. If you use the Fire Stone, you get the Fire-type Flareon, weak to Water, Grass, Ground, and Rock. High physical attack and special defense, but since Fire was a special-type move in this generation, didn't get much love, and its moveset, from what I recall, isn't too good either. And then lastly, there's Jolteon by using the Thunderstone. In the original Gen 1, it was arguably the best because of how critical hits worked in that game, because I think it was relative to your speed. But here in Gen 3, the electric type is only okay, I feel. Only weak to ground, and it's got high speed and special attack, which is good for its typing, but I just prefer the water. Also, we can buy lemonades in there. They're basically potions, but not. They're cheaper than some potions, though, so I'm going to grab a couple. And if you give one of each drink to this little girl, you get various TMs. None of them too useful, but I figured why not. This is why I love Celadon. There's a surprising amount to do here compared to other towns. Most Pokemon towns prior to, like, Gen 4 or 5 were more or less just one-stop destinations. You're there for the gym or you're there for this plot event, not much else. Celadon's and the two towns from now, the next two towns, are like the only occurrences where that's not the case here in Gen 1. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in Part 10, we're heading after the Celadon Gym. See you guys then.